What's up, everybody? Welcome once again. I'm a little bit, I don't know. Uh, my nose is a little fussy today, but I mean, this weather it's going crazy. So before I start today's show, guys, welcome to another episode of Latin Explaining. My name is Denise Gonzalez. For the new ones, the new Latin explainers. For the ones that already know me, what's up, guys? I hope everybody has had a beautiful week and a nice weekend. Sorry if I sound a little bit nasal. I mean, it is what it is. However, before we start with today's show, I said in the past, today's show is going to be amazing. It's going to be really good. It's basically like a two-part episode special that is going to end tomorrow evening with the ending of the season, where we're going to stop talking about the slow taps. And I hope that you guys, after these two episodes, have gotten like a clear understanding of what is exactly the debt that they create. Tomorrow I will answer all the questions and everything is going to come to a conclusion. You guys know that tomorrow, well, today and tomorrow, I release a challenge for the slow tap minority. uh let's see if they have the guts and the facts to actually show up and debate points that have been proven here with factual information, which I doubt. Also, I want to first of all remind everybody to hit the like button, subscribe if you have not done so. Also, I want to remind everyone that when you subscribe, make sure you hit the bell for notification and press all. What's up? I see already that Who Am I is already here. T, hey, what's up? Hope everything is okay from Ireland. MK and Mr. The Unknown already got the shot started. So, guys, thank you for tuning in. I want to also remind the people watching this on the replay, which I know they're going to love it, to please hit that like button. Also, bring friends, bring whoever you want. If you want to leave a comment, you want me to, you want to interact with me, I want to remind you that I have an Instagram where you can be a part of that community. I see also that DJ by side is also here. What's up, bro? I hope that you are doing well. I see that Risa Ram is also here. Welcome, guys. As you guys come in, please hit that like button. Like I said, I am sorry that I sound a little bit nasal today, but the show must go on. So, guys, today we're going to talk about a few topics, and we're going to do a very lengthy revision of history. So if you guys think you're ready for this, trust me when I'm telling you, y'all are not. After today, slow tips are going to be everywhere where they are, like this. They're really going to go wild. But you guys know that here, Latin explainers like to stay informed. So while they're hating us, we're going to be like, we're going to enjoy ourselves because let's keep it real. We like to read. So definitely today is going to be one of the most embarrassing shows for that sector. I see that we have coming Royces. What's up, Royces? I saw your email before I started the show. I'll reply once I am done. Also, I see that Daniel Valencia is here and Johnny Mills. So welcome, guys. It's very nice to have you guys here. Like I said, today is going to be a show that's going to change the course of slow tap mindset. Hopefully, this is enough for their naturalization into reality. But guys, you guys know how we do things here. We already started with the jokes, and like I said, today's gonna be a lengthy show. So get ready, get your snacks ready, your drinks ready. Today's gonna be a show that's gonna be on fire. So let's get the show started, guys.
Take it to the next level.
Guys, and before we start with anything, you guys know my beautiful island, Puerto Rico, it's going under once again. Another natural disaster. This time is Hurricane Fiona. It started as a storm and it was predicted by European and American Doppler radars to stay a storm and almost completely avoid the island. However, waters becoming warmer in the Caribbean, as usual during this time, made this tropical storm strengthen itself to the point that now is a hurricane category 1. And even though the whole system avoided somehow Puerto Rico for the most part, a lot of it is still going to affect because it's going to move upwards right when it hits the south part of the island. It is going to exit through the west. Now, must I say, there's a lot of floodings happening right now, a lot of devastation. You guys know that we have talked about here how we need certain natural resources and ecosystems to stay in place in order to protect the island for disasters like this one. We've seen how they have basically the gringo luxurious spirits, evil spirits, have decided to invade the island, destroy nature, destroy mountains, tear them down, destroy ecosystems, take over the beaches and our coastline in order to have private beaches for themselves and beautiful infinity pools. And now they're calling rescue teams left and right because now nature is reclaiming what's his or hers. I don't know if you guys call nature a woman or a guy. So that's basically what's happening. Not that I am happy, but to be honest, it's something that we have been talking about for a few months. I started talking about it last year. I know there's a lot of activists in Puerto Rico, like Tito Kayak, like Eliezer Molina, El León Fiscalizador, which is the lineman that I have the pleasure to have here as well. They have talked about this lengthily for years. I know Tito Kayak has done this for decades at this point, and nobody wants to listen. But now that they're getting all muddy and stuff, now they want to listen. Now we're no longer hairy Venezuelans protesting for everything, because that's the thing that I'm gonna say. I love my people and I love my island, but every time that we protest for this stuff, we're not doing it because we just want to be disruptive or rebels that want to be spend our Sundays and our Saturdays under the sun. We're doing this because these mountains and all these castles and lagoons are needed. So when we have situations like this, you don't see houses floating and being dragged by mudslides. We need that type of scenery and nature in order to protect us from powerful winds, because Puerto Rico gets this every year. Right now, this is a category 1 hurricane, and it's already wreaking havoc left and right throughout the island because now most of the stuff or in most of the mountains that used to be in place have become plain terrain thanks to our government officials profiting by selling it to gringos that benefit from the Law 22 and Law 20. So I don't know about the Paul brothers. I know they live 6 months in a day in PR. I don't know if this is one of those months, but if they are, I am so sorry for them because the beach is no joke, especially in the northern coastline that we have. So good luck to them. Good luck to everybody. I hope that if you guys have family in PR like I do, you have been able to contact them and that they are okay. My family is okay so far They have generators, they have everything they need, and they don't live in a flood like or a flooding prone zone. So definitely we'll see how this develops further. I will keep you guys posted tomorrow after Hurricane Fiona leaves the island. And now the Dominican Republic, it's on the lookout because Fiona is about to pay them a visit, unfortunately, as well. So let's see how they do. I'll keep you guys posted. So if you have a family in the Caribbean, make sure you keep tuning in. I'm gonna do a special bulletin for it in the morning tomorrow, and then I'm going to do my usual show tomorrow evening where I'm gonna give you guys more details about it when it comes to the DR. I see that Daniel Valencia is saying the mountains and rainforests of Puerto Rico usually is what protected the inhabitants since pre-contact. Absolutely. Absolutely. It was the Yunque and it was the mountains and also all the rainforest that we have is what protect us because we're a tiny island that's literally below the level of water. And we sit on top of what is known as a dead volcano. So it's not convenient. It doesn't make sense that gringos that don't know how to do urban planning wants to come in and just destroy these things that will eventually kill them. And we're trying to tell them and they don't want to listen. But basically, guys, this is what's going on in PR right now. It's not a joke. Like I said, this is not a drill. This is not something that I'm trying to scare y'all into it. This is real. This is what's happening. And the images are just devastating. The images are insane. And we're talking about a lot of damages. And also, you guys know that Luma Energy is super incompetent. And to be honest with you, right now, Luma Energy wasn't even able to keep the people of Puerto Rico with electricity to the point that even before the Hurricane Fiona landed, they were already uh, without power. The whole island has no power whatsoever. So again, a generator is part of the starter kit that you're going to need if you want to live in the island of Puerto Rico. Now I see that Daniel Valencia also says our federal, state, and local governments for a few dollars in their pockets let the land be exploited. They don't care because it's easy for them to get up on a plane for US or Europe. Absolutely. You literally just read my mind. That's exactly what's going on and it's so sad that a lot of locals cannot see this and I don't know, man. I don't know what's going on. They're just something else. Why can I tell you? But guys, moving from this whole situation, like I said, I hope everyone's okay. I'm gonna keep you guys posted. But moving from this, we have had what a crazy week we have had with this whole situation with Mr. Ron DeSantis and Greg Abbott, both governors for the Republican Party, one from Florida, one from Texas, sending immigrants to different locations across the United States. I'm going to play you guys a few videos regarding this whole situation. I'm pretty sure you guys have heard about it. And I'm going to come back with the rest of my commentary. You guys know I am against deportation, but I am also against illegal migration. But I will make certain comments about this. But let's hear first from Mr. Ron DeSantis what he had to say when he sent those Venezuelans and Colombians all the way to Martha's Vineyard. Let's hear what he had to say.
we are we take what's happening at the southern border very seriously, unlike some, and unlike the president of the United States, who has refused to lift a finger to secure that border. And you've had millions and millions of people pouring across illegally, record amount of fentanyl coming into our country. It is absolutely killing Americans in record numbers. Of course, you have criminal aliens, but just the sheer number of people, it's not the way you run a country. Unfortunately, there's a lot of folks that come.
Oh,
across, where do they want to end up? A lot want to come to, because everyone wants to come to Florida. And so we've worked on innovative ways to be able to protect the state of Florida from the impact of Biden's border policies. And so that's involved a number of things. We've had different operations in the Panhandle where we've stopped human smugglers. There have been criminal charges brought. There have been drugs seized. There have been a whole bunch of things. But yes, if you have folks that are inclined to think Florida is a good place, our message to them is we are not a sanctuary state, and it's better to be able to go to a sanctuary jurisdiction. And yes, we will help facilitate that transport for you to be able to go to greener pastures.
Now that's among the things that Ron DeSantis said. He basically sent all of these people to Martha's Vineyard, which is basically like a summer vacational luxury uh, estate for people of the likes of Beyonce and Jay-Z, Michelle and Barack Obama, etc., and people of that, that walk of life. And I'm gonna be very specific, okay? Like I said, I am against deportation, and I'm also uh, against illegal migration. There was a point in my life when I did believe in open borders. It wasn't too long ago. I think I started changing more towards closed borders towards the end of 2021. I used to be pro open borders. However, now the state of the country. Hey, Ramon, what's up? I see that you're here. Yeah, we're going to talk about your beloved governor, Ramon. Abbott sent migrants directly to Kamala's house, the pettiness. A lot of people are criticizing Ron DeSantis for what he said and for what he did. A lot of people are concentrating on, like, oh my God, he's so petty. Oh my God, using people to be petty, whatever, whatever. I'm going to tell you something. If you think for a second that Joe Biden's policy when it comes to like open borders and all that BS is not petty, is not trying to play with the lives of people, you are out of your freaking mind. They are doing this stuff, and I support that. And it's kind of like when they said they're going to send more to Chicago. Greg Abbott already sent some to Chicago. There's people that are coming here to work. But let me tell you something. Right now, America is downsizing labor. We have talked about this right now. We have talked about this in this corner. America is downsizing labor. Unemployment rates are still pretty high. There's not enough labor here. And people often want to shame America for turning its back on illegal immigrants as if they don't do that in their own countries. And I'm going to explain myself. I've talked about how Chile is also turning its back on Venezuelans that are coming because they can't take all that people. And the reason why they cannot take all that people is because there's not enough jobs to also have people that are illegal immigrants with no rights come in. And obviously that's the labor that is going to be hired because corporations want to pay less, which is why Joe Biden is allowing this whole concept of open borders. That's why a lot of people from our collective was able to make it here. So when people say like, oh, illegals don't steal jobs, don't call them illegals. Look, illegals, undocumented migrants, whatever you want to call them. This is just a semantic thing. It is a job stealing practice because, come on, if I'm an employer, am I going to hire a bunch of Central Americans or South Americans for pennies on the dollar, or I'm going to have, without no rights, I don't have to give them no medical, health insurance. I don't have to give them dental vision. I have to give them breaks. I don't have to give them paid vacation. I don't have to give them sick time. I have to give them anything. I have to give them whatever I want, and they have no rights. And they can take whatever pay in whatever conditions. They cannot even get workers' compensation if they get injured. So, of course, as a corporation, that's what I'm going to, go for. And that's what our oligarchy is doing. They don't care about the immigrants. They don't care if an immigrant actually lands dead. Proof of that is that we have like 47 immigrants dying on a truck. The establishment doesn't care. And if you think that because we're all Latinos and we're supposed to support this thing, that we're not gonna call the BS that our people are doing, you have something else coming for you. It's time for us to stop coming out here. It's not better than our countries at this point because America doesn't have enough jobs for us. It just doesn't. And what's happening right now is that it's becoming more hostile for Latino immigrants to come out here. And I hate the fact that we're going to be victimized. The ones that actually come here to work, we're going to get victimized out here. So I understand it sucks being in your country, but you got to make it work. We got to find an alternate solution that doesn't end with the coming to America. Enough. So can I really blame Ron DeSantis and Greg Abbott for the stuff that they're doing? Absolutely not. I'm going to play you guys what Greg Abbott did and how he was grilled for it as well. Because they're growing tired and the hostility is mounting up because people are demanding stuff from their government officials.
Where buses from Texas dropped off migrants this morning. CNBC's Shamari Stone near the vice president's home where their journey ended on Mass Avenue. Shamari.
Well, Tyler, the Secret Service and immigration volunteers say they were caught off guard when the buses dropped off the migrants behind me. Many of these asylum seekers are from Venezuela and Cuba. They were processed by federal immigration officials in Texas, and now many are at local churches here in D.C. The migrants arrived carrying blankets, pillows, and plastic bags. David Morales, a migrant from Venezuela. He says he endured a very long trip, quite tough. We didn't expect to be left adrift here without knowing where to head to. Texas Governor Greg Abbott defending the move, tweeting, "Our supposed border czar, VP Harris, has yet to see firsthand the impact of the open border policies she has helped implement." The arrival coming just days after the vice president said on Meet the Press Sunday,
"The border is secure, but we also have a broken immigration system, in particular over the last 4 years before we came in, and it needs to be fixed."
In New York City, Mayor Eric Adams today touring a new welcome center for migrants. He admits the city's shelters are being overwhelmed.
We need help.
But vow to keep housing asylum seekers.
This is the thing. We have a crisis. Our shelters can no longer take these people. So again, we want to say that we're coming here and we're doing all these great things. Immigrant life is nothing like first generation, second generation, third generation Latinos. Immigrant life is literally life in the gutters. You can die on a sidewalk. It's extremely dangerous and detrimental for Latinos. So we're not coming here to just right off the bat get family members to pick us up. We're coming here to end up in shelters. But then doesn't America have already a homeless crisis? Don't we have 2.3 million people on the streets right now that are American citizens and we're not housing these people? Do you see my point? I feel for the immigrants, don't get me wrong. My thing is America is not in a position right now to keep taking us. We got to find an alternate solution. I don't know if Canada is going to be the way. I don't know if Australia is going to be the way. I don't know if Spain is going to be the. We got to find an alternate solution if you want to migrate. It cannot be only the U.S. And to be honest with you, to be bullied as a country because there's an expectation that America, oh, it was built by immigrants. So did Mexico, so did Puerto Rico, so did Cuba, so did Latin America. It was not built by any other than immigrants. Should we all go there? Should we go there? Should all of the American people abandon America and go down to Latin America and settle there because that's what they want to, that's what they cojones came out saying. Let's just do that. Let's just drop everything and go over there because we don't like America's pollution. Let's just go over there and colonize all this place. Because that's basically that's what we're saying to the Americans. We're gonna go up here and we're gonna semi-colonize your stuff. We're gonna take your jobs, we're gonna take your wealth, we're gonna take your resources that are very scarce right now because the establishment and the oligarchs in this country don't give a flying F about the population. We're gonna take all these things, and then if you don't give them to me, I'm gonna campaign against you and say that you're inhumane and you're petty and you're bad. Cry me an effing river. It's time for us to come up with a solution. What the solution is going to be is fix your country. Go and march. How about we organize a convoy that goes and secludes our government officials' mansions back in Latin America? How about we do that? Why we don't do those convoys? You know what? We're gonna go march to Maduro's house, and we're not gonna let that fucker come out of his house until we get the country we think we deserve. How about we do those things? How about we go to AMLO's mansion and do the same thing? Why does it have to be here in this country that we know already they don't like us? We're not welcome here. And I hate that we're often being put in this freaking position. We got to start having some freaking dignity. We can't be living off of people's pity and charity. And then in the same breath said that we're magnificent and the fastest growing minority. We're the fastest growing criminals. We're breaking the law in another country, and that's what we're known for. It's not something to be proud of, but hey, when we say these things, we're anti-Latinos, right? And when you tell people this stuff, they all of a sudden, all of them came here legally, all of them. That's impossible. And let's keep it real. I've said it many times that the American tolerance is growing thin and it's going to get worse. And the reason why it's getting worse is because we're getting blamed for the crimes happening in America. We're getting blamed for the drug abuse in America. We're getting blamed for the sexual assaults of America. We're getting blamed for the gang situations in America. Some of it is our fault. Yes, criminal organizations are coming here. Criminal organizations are taking women out of here and trafficking them. That is true. We got to take those L's. We can't be out here sugarcoating the truth. That is the truth. That this is our reality. We're dirt poor, but we don't want to have the cojones to do something in our backyard. We want to come here and hate on the Americans. Oh, I hate capitalism. Then go back to your country. Destruction to America. Then go back to your country. You won't have, I promise you, Americans won't even talk about you. You won't be missed. Because that's another thing. We come here to do what? What is the goal? What is the end goal? This is what pisses me off. And we're going to talk about this thing today. We're going to talk about assimilation. That's a topic that triggers a lot of slow taps. We're going to talk about assimilation because I'm growing tired of this whole stupidity. You are in a country and you got to assimilate. Assimilate or go back to your country. Because you're making the collective look bad. That's the new slogan. I'm going to make a t-shirt for 2023. Assimilate or go back to your country. No longer are we going to tolerate bootleg Latinos out here trying to implement stupidity that did not work in our countries. If you think I'm full of it, put a number 1 in the chat. If you think I am right, put a number 2. That's all I'm saying. If you think I'm right, put a number 2. If you think I'm not right, then put a number 1. Enough is enough. And one of the things that we have to understand is, like, if you're on this side of the fence, you got to protect your own. You got to protect your own space. What's coming is not pretty. Yes, we are bringing a lot of freaking drugs in here. That is not news. That is not something that we just discovered today. We have a whole freaking show out here. Thank you, T. Thank you. We have a full-blown show here with several seasons from different countries of Latin America that specialize in contraband. Where do you think the cartels sell their drugs to? Out here. Come on now. Why do you think they get arrested over here by the DEA? Because they sell drugs here. They sell drugs here in this soil. I see that DJ beside disagrees with me. Well, I mean, there's no other way. I call it how I see it. That's just how it has to be. I get it. It sucks. You're probably sad because you're on that side of the fence. But you got to deprogram yourself from the fact that you have to come here in order to make something happen. No, you do not. I wish Puerto Rico had the freedoms that all these countries have. I know I'll be there. The problem is that nobody wants to be part of the village. Nobody wants to be the person that's in agriculture, planting and nothing for their own country. They want to come do it here. Nobody wants to scrub toilets in Mexico. We want to do it here. How about we scrub the toilets over there? In here, oh, we have no problem doing any job. There's not a single job we won't take. Then how about you don't take those jobs and you actually take those jobs in our countries? Like I said, I wish PR had those freedoms because I'll be the first one picking up those bananas. I'll live a simple life in a wooden house with my children, my husband, picking up those bananas, living the best I can, contributing to the economy of my country. Why the heck cannot you do the same? I see that Ramon says, one thing is to assimilate, another thing is adapting. I'm all for adapting, but I'm not losing my identity. That's what assimilation will do. Well, Ramon, whether we like it or not, the fact that we're here is assimilation. You gotta assimilate. Adapting is a different thing. We got to assimilate. If we don't want to assimilate, we gotta go back to our countries. Because we're going to be doing this backward, oh, I am Latino and I am from this place. No, you are just another motherfucker in the United States of America. That's your flag and you should be proud of it. And this not only applies to Latinos. I've said this even to our brothers and sisters in the African American community. Assimilate once and for all to your country. That's why we don't move forward. This is where you're at. Where are you going? Do you have plans on going somewhere else? Then why do you care about what you left behind? I've never seen a gold medalist in track and field winning a medal by looking back while running forward. That never happens. So it's time to assimilate and start defending your own interests. Oh, we need to start feeling sorry for this. No, we don't have to feel sorry for these people. This is what I talk about, this whole how can I say it? this whole thing about the Hispanoteps when they come at us with the whole "I hate America," bring down capitalism, whatever. Go back to your country. I'm not gonna stop saying it. Blood Moon, sorry for the immigrants that are coming here when America is broke as hell. I see that Daniel Valencia says Chinese adapt, Hindu and Indian assimilate. They're extremely modern, but have their private celebrations and festivals. You can have your private celebrations and festivals. No one's taking those from you. That doesn't mean that I'm going to stop eating mofongo, but I got to understand that I have a duty to the country that I'm living in. As an American citizen, because I live in America, I'm no longer in the island of Puerto Rico. I have dues to this land. If you do not like it, I understand. Go back to your country. That's literally how it's going to be. You don't like it, I get it. Go back to your country of origin. That's just how it is. Your parents, our parents brought us here so we could have a better future. What future are you going to have if you hate the place that your parents came here and fought tooth and nail to give you all the opportunities the Americans have? For you to be like hating on that country, then go back to yours. It's kind of like I'm going to explain it in the micro, and I know I sound like AOC right now. Imagine all the freaking people, all the Democratic people, all the liberals that hate how California has turned out to be, and all the policies that we have out here that have created a beautiful, perfect storm. And people live in extreme anxiety. Everyone is the victim of a violent crime, even when you're minding your own freaking business. Because of these policies, you're not entitled to defend yourself. So people are moving to Texas here from Florida. Here in Florida, I'm sorry, from here to even Florida and Texas. Because, prices over there are cheap. There's not a lot of homeless people. There's not a lot of situations like, same with New York, same with Seattle. They're all moving to all these red states because you hate Republicans, and you go over there and you imagine what are Texans and Floridians telling people from California. Do not vote for the same policies that ruin your state. It's the same thing with us. When we talk about, I'm not going to assimilate, then why the heck are you here? You should have stayed in the place that had the policies you stand for. Why you want to implement your backwards mindset into a country that's moving forward? You got to understand, when migration is about death and life, the person and the policies and the knowledge that you had has to die in order for you to be born in a new country. That's how it really is. Your Latino self has to die in order for the US version of yourself to be born. I see that Royce says, when people move in, the prices will rise for sure. Absolutely. The prices are rising, but it's never going to be the same as here. Here in California, you want to buy a house in, let's say, a disgusting neighborhood. It's $500,000. Right off the bat. I see that Taino Knight says, glad we agree on the immigration issue, Denise. Yeah, absolutely. That I am very moderate. I've said this many times. I have liberal views and I have conservative views, and those views make me the middle. I am not neither left or right. They both hate me. Left and right wingers, people hate the way I think for that same reason. I see that Marcel says, remember why you left. Absolutely. Blood Moon says, I love Blood Moon's troll. She's like, it does not matter. Those words are there and it represents what the U.S. is. It is an immigrant country. Blood Moon, every country, name me a country in the West that is not made by immigrants. Mexico is made by immigrants. Or you think it was Mayans and freaking Aztecas that built up the Mexico you know today? It was immigrants that built Mexico. That's literally what it is. Ramon says, I've seen that sticker, Ramon. It's like here in Texas, they say, Don California, my Texas. Yeah, I've seen that sticker. I've seen that sticker. It's the same thing here. If you're going to move to Texas, you got to become a cowboy or a cowgirl. It doesn't work. You can't be a Kardashian in Texas. That only works in California. If you're going over there, you're a cowboy or a cowgirl that eats a lot of steaks and loves to carry your weapon and loves country music. That's who you are. If you move to Florida, you know what you are. You love Cuban culture. You love Puerto Rican culture. You love the beach. You love hurricanes. You love humidity. That's who you are. You love being on shorts and flip-flops and be killing bugs every 15 minutes. That's who you are. It's the same thing with when we come out here. So going back to the whole situation with the immigrants, I'm sorry. I feel you. I see you. Go back. We can't take you. Where are the jobs? Are we willing to quit? Where are we willing to quit our jobs for the people that are crying for the immigrant people? Are you willing to quit your job so that an immigrant can take it? Please reply, because I've seen a lot of people in the chat actually saying, oh my God, like, no, we have to defend this and that. If you're willing to quit so that an immigrant takes your job, put a number 1 in the chat. If you don't want to let go of your job, put a number 2. For the people that are snowflakes crying for the immigrants, are you willing to give them your job? That's a question that I'm trying to say, because I think people don't understand it. Are you willing to give them your job, your social security, your home, your vehicle, and they can take over and they can then work for you, and you just have to go back to where they came from? Are you willing to do that? I see that Rakim is not willing to quit his job to give it to an immigrant. The Taino Knight said, buy two. Like, no, he's not willing to quit his job and his life to give it to an immigrant. So what are we talking about, guys? If you're not willing to do this, come on. Somebody, Rose and Jack, both of them could not fit on the raft. It was either Jack was going to die or Rose was going to die. And I know people would debate that both of them fit. No, both of them did not fit. Okay? Somebody has to die and somebody has to live. Who's going to live? You or your immigrant doppelganger? You decide. But you got to put your money where your mouth is. You got to quit your job and give it to an immigrant. That's what we're going to start promoting that from now on. I see that Marcel says, send them to San Fran, LA, New York City, etc., etc. He says, Mayor Beetlejuice says she wants more of them. Yeah. I see that Rakim says, I am not willing to quit to give my job to anybody. Rakim, start packing up your stuff and start working, taking off your key card and all this stuff so you can give it to an immigrant. Because this country was built by immigrants. So we had to give them our job. Screw that. Screw that. Let's send them to DC. Let's send them to Joe Biden's backyard. I see that Johnny Mills is also not willing to quit his job to give it to an immigrant. This is what we're talking about. When people comment on, it's like, oh my God, like, feel sorry for the immigrant. I feel bad for them. I understand where they're coming from, but they have better chances of making it work over there. So we're not human. We don't eat. Our children don't gotta eat. That's all I'm saying. I see that Blood Moon, are you willing to quit? She says, this country has always had illegal immigrants. They work and live here illegally, and it won't stop. That is reality, not emotion. Yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right. Which is why I believe they should live in states of people that wants to cry for them. I support Greg Abbott. I support Ron DeSantis. If your state does not offer sanctuary, send them to the states of the people that say that they want them. And that way, the American people can just know exactly where to move. Move out of these states. Let them have the immigrants. And you move out. Depreciate the state. Send a clear message. You don't even have to vote. You don't have to do a rally. You don't have to do a protest. Send them a clear message. Move the hell out. Go to a state that respects putting Americans first. That's literally how it is. I see that Daniel Valencia says, but tons of jobs here in Houston area, especially in the trades businesses, but they're in extreme labor shortage. Many American born don't want to work in those fields, pay well, even more if self-employed. That is a lie, Daniel Valencia. Those places are waiting for those immigrants. There's a lot of people applying for these jobs. America is at a job shortage right now. We've seen the deficit. Now, there's a lot of physical places that are closing. If you think that corporations and companies are not in bed with the liberals on this, you're out of your mind. They are waiting for those immigrants. They don't want to give those jobs to Americans. We're too expensive to employ. As Royce says, the issue then becomes immigrants being treated better than some Americans, especially the black ones. Yeah, look, immigrants have more benefits than Puerto Ricans. Let me ask you something. Have you guys asked yourselves why these immigrants from Latin America do not go to Puerto Rico? Have you guys asked yourselves why? The only ones that come are Dominicans and Haitians. Why do you think the rest of these people do not come to PR? Why do you think Cubans stopped coming to PR? I'll tell you why. Because there was a point where double dipping stopped. You can only get the state help or federal help, and it's not a lot. That whole thing that you get $9,000 right off the bat on state and federal aid, that doesn't work in PR. You actually got to work. Because you got to think like this. It's American soil. You still have some sort of benefit. It's not third world. You got access to education for free. And people speak Spanish. Why wouldn't you want to go to PR then? Because it's not convenient, because you wanna be sucking off the tit of capitalism, but then you don't want to assimilate after a while. Rakim says because it's too far. LOL. It's the last island in the Caribbean. Nah, they don't want to come out here. Look, Rakim, Colombians are flooding the DR like mosquitoes do Florida during the summer. And they do that because they get some benefit over there. That's just how it is. That's literally how it is. So if they can swim all the way to the DR, they can definitely swim to PR. They literally can. I see that Rocha said some immigrants coming to NYC have more than black living in the projects. Yeah, that is true. That is true. But at the same time, like I said, let's just have these people live in the blue states. Let's let's let them live in the blue states, because let me tell you something. Immigrant life, I've said it, is cheap out here. They're not investing in infrastructure like we do. They don't invest in real estate like we do. They don't invest in vehicles like we do. They don't move the economy. They just come here to produce for themselves. So how about we make that move? Let's start getting the heck out of the states. You want immigrants? You got them. You got them. I see that Rakim says it's Colombians in the DR. Yes, there's a lot. Blood Moon says you guys are too inclusive and it could be the cause of your demise. Oh, you mean the African Americans? Yeah, they are very inclusive. They are very welcoming people. But at the same time, like I said, I think black folks are getting, because they're getting the heck out of California. They're getting the heck out of California. Maceo says Venezuelans are getting kicked out of other Latin American countries. Yeah, that's why they're coming here. I covered like a few months ago how Chileans are starting to kill them. They don't want them over there. And you know what Chileans are saying? Because Venezuelans are criminals. So we're supposed to hate the Chito. When Donald Trump said it, that's not what the best is not what's coming through the border. He said criminals are coming through the border. So we don't want to grill the Chileans for saying the same thing. But the Chito is bad. We can't vote for him. The Chito was right. That's what I'm talking about, the whole assimilation thing. That's what it comes down to, that, guys. And again, to anyone that tells you that we should feel sorry for these individuals, just ask them what I ask everyone here. Are you willing to quit your job and quit your life, go live the life of the immigrant, and then give them your job? If you're not willing to do so, then shut up. That's all I'm gonna say, guys. That's it. You guys do the rest of the thinking, and let's get the discussion started. Tomorrow I'm gonna touch on it a little bit more. Like I said, this is a 2-part episode. Tomorrow we're going to have the closing of the show and the closing of the season. And again, the offer still stands. I'm still waiting for the brave slow taps that are gonna come here and try to debate their backwards retarded points after all the proof that we have had out here. I'm still trying to look for that. And I know it's not gonna happen. But guys, that has been all for news. Let's get this show continued, because again, this is a topic that we can talk for hours about, and people are still gonna feel some type of way. So let's go into the main topic. Alrighty, guys. Alrighty. So you guys know that we have talked a lot about this episode, and trust me, I have postponed this episode so much because I wanted to do certain things, and here it is. Okay, you might ask yourself, what the heck is PL 94311? Is it Elon Musk's new baby? No, it's not. It's not. We're going to talk today about a topic that we have heard a lot from a lot of moronic folks in the Latino sector out here. You guys know that before there was a Latinsplaining, there was the Radical Latino show, and I used to be there all the time, and it's still going. I love Radical's show. So there was a time when Radical tried to explain to people what was the difference between being a Hispanic and a Latino. And a lot of people still say that they are Hispanic, and that, you know, me and Radical were supposedly too woke, and that's why we were Latinos and we were being blackified and influenced by black folks, and we were just victims and whatever. Today we're going to once again bitch slap the hell out of the slowteps with reality. What does it really mean to be a Hispanic? And it's nothing other, and I'm going to be able to prove what I'm saying. Being a Hispanic and wearing it as a badge of honor, like all these morons do, means that you are embracing victimhood, that you're embracing that you're a lower class, and you're embracing that you're a victim. The same very thing that they try to diminish other communities for. The same thing that they say, that they complain and they believe that they're better than black folks because they're not victims, while yelling that they're Hispanic people. Let me tell you something. That term means you are a victim of Spanish descent. And I hope that after this episode, more people start reading on what actually means to be a Latino, rather than just think that people are too woke or too liberal, whatever you want to say. Because again, this whole season has been to prove the moronic, backwards mindset of the people that you claim to love as your leaders, to the point that during this season I've had slowteps come into my space to actually have the conversation and listen to what we're talking about, because they have realized, our so-called leaders do not read, are moronic, are dumb people, and are drug addicts. That's literally what's going on. I see that Johnny Mills says, I've been watching the Radical Latino since 2019. Yeah, I've been watching it since 2018. But let's get deep into it. And I found several articles on this, and I have the law itself. Before we get into, I'm going to read you guys. There was no Hispanics, that notion, no one of Spanish descent that was born before 1976 had a birth certificate that was called Hispanics. No one. There's not, if you were born before 1976, your birth certificate did not said Hispanic. It's from Gen X till today that notion of victimhood for people of Spanish descent is being taught to us. And we're supposed to be victims that speak Spanish. And that's who we are. When you hear these morons doing like King Kong, hitting their chest, I'm Hispanic, they're basically telling you they're little bitches that speak Spanish. That's it. And I know I've talked about the whole Jim Crow situation when we try to say we were oppressed, that we suffered discrimination. We did not suffer discrimination. Oh, we had that case against the Department of Education. Let me tell you something. Again, like I said, back on the Latinos that were not affected by Jim Crow, which is CAP. I'm going to say it again. That case was never about us advocating for Black folks. That was us reiterating to the white people in this country that we were also white and we needed white privileges to be restituted to our community. And that's what happened. Okay? So make no mistake, we're just LARPers and grifters from the civil rights movement. And it doesn't stop there. And I'm going to prove today to you, how are we those things? Call me anti-Latino, but you cannot argue with history. That's just history. That's all I'm doing. I'm just reading literally from the books of history. Literally, that's what it is. That's literally what it is. Now, let's go back into the law. This is the Public Law 94-311. It was created on June 16, 1976. And I'm going to read it to you guys so you guys can go one by one understanding what I'm talking about. But this is literally the law that created the term Hispanic. This is literally what created the term Hispanic that did not exist before this day. Now, let's go into what that law says. It says, relating to the publication of economic and social statistics for Americans or of Spanish origin or descent. The first, where some more than 12 million Americans identify themselves as being of Spanish-speaking background and trace their origin or descent from Mexico, Puerto Rico, Cuba, Central and South America, and other Spanish-speaking countries. And whereas the Americans of Spanish origin or descent have made significant contributions to enrich American society and have served their nation well in time of war and peace. And whereas a larger number of Americans of Spanish origin or descent, and I want you to focus here on how we're made victims to believe that backwards mindset that we were affected by anything before this era. Okay? We were not. We suffer from racial. It says suffer from racial. I want you to point me in what direction in history we had racial issues when we were not affected by Jim Crow. This is a lie. Racial, social, economic, and political discrimination, and are denied the basic opportunities they deserve as American citizens, and which will enable them to begin to lift themselves out of the poverty they now endure. Now, we do endure poverty, but it's because we refuse to assimilate to this country. Because back in the day, before this law was incepted, the inception of this movement and this law, the Latino community was not below the levels of poverty. That is a reality. Aside from fresh off the boat or fresh out the border immigrants, the Latino community lived among the white suburbia. That is a fact. But let's continue. It says, whereas improved evaluation of the economic and social status of Americans of Spanish origin or descent will assist state and federal governments and private organizations in the accurate determination of the urgent and special needs of Americans of Spanish origin and descent. And whereas the provision and commitment of state, federal, and private resources, state, federal, and private resources can only occur when there is an accurate and precise assessment of need, which means after this law in the census, we stopped being white people and we became Hispanic, because they needed to know how many of us were making a lot of money. That's literally what this is. How many of us were making money? How many of us were just fresh off the boat or fresh off the border? And how many of us were broke? That's literally what this is. And how many people from this will benefit? I'll continue to read. And it goes back to what we're talking about, the illegal immigrants. They get all this help because we LARP from the African American Civil Rights Movement just for our immigrants. So what Royces was talking about, this is what he was talking about. Black folks get the turkey's ass while we get the turkey's wing. I'm not making, this is not a Denise thing. I'm not making this up. This is a public law. You can look it up yourself. I'm just reading off of what it's saying and explaining to the folks that don't understand what we're talking about. But let's continue. It says, resolve by the Senate and House of Representatives of the United States of America in Congress assembled, that the Department of Labor, in cooperation with the Department of Commerce, shall develop methods for improving and expanding the collection, analysis, and publication of unemployment data relating to Americans of Spanish origin or descent. Section 2. The Department of Commerce, Department of Labor, the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare, I'm going to say it again, Commerce, Labor, Health, Education, and Welfare, and Agriculture shall each collect and publish regularly statistics which indicate the social health and the economic condition of Americans of Spanish origin or descent. Third, the Director of the Office of Management and Budget, in cooperation with the Secretary of Commerce, with the heads of other data gathering federal agencies, shall develop a government-wide program for the collection, analysis, and publication of data with respect to Americans of Spanish descent or origin. Section 4. The Department of Commerce, in cooperation with the appropriate federal, state, and local agencies and various population study groups and experts, shall immediately undertake a study to determine what steps will be necessary for developing creditable estimates of undercounts of Americans of Spanish origin or descent in future censuses. It doesn't stop there. Then we have Section 5. The Secretary of Commerce shall ensure that in the Bureau of the Census, data collection activities, the needs and the concerns of the Spanish origin population are given, brace yourself, okay, are given full recognition through the use of Spanish language and questionnaires, bilingual enumerators, and other such methods as deemed appropriate by the Secretary. Section 6. The Department of Commerce shall implement, and I want you to brace yourself for this one, because this is the reason why our slowteps are the most racist people in the world, because they are just idiots that do not read and are pawns for the establishment to fight and kneecap other people that are just like them, that they LARP from, because your white sidey told you that you gotta fight for the crumbs that fall off the table, and you gotta fight them. This is the reason why. I'm gonna read it right now, which is Section 6. It says the Department of Commerce shall implement an affirmative action program. What did I hear again? If you guys know what affirmative action is and who fought for affirmative action, do you guys remember who fought for affirmative action? Because I remember. Can somebody tell me in the chat who fought for affirmative action? I remember. I'm going to wait. It says, with the Bureau of the Census, for the employment of personnel of Spanish origin or descent, and shall submit a report to Congress within 1 year of the enactment of this act on the progress of such program. Approved June 16, 1976. No, Rizarem, affirmative action was not created by feminists. It was designed for the inclusion of Black people in workplaces. Black people have always been asking to be able to be left alone so they can work in peace. And here comes the immigrant LARPers that refuse to assimilate to the American country, to the American practices, right? But they are here LARPing the affirmative action. And I'm going to talk now to my Black brothers and sisters that watch this channel. Every time I hear this cringe-worthy stupidity from the slow taps, This is what I want you guys to remember when they try to shame y'all about victimhood. We have a full-blown law that was created for us to take and copy paste. We did not even create our own stuff. We copy paste what you guys died and fought for into our people because we did not want it to assimilate to the Americana. Meanwhile, Black folks were fighting to assimilate to the Americana and be left alone. And they were killed for that. They are still being killed for that. This is who the slowteps are. This is who the Hispanics are. This is literally who the slowteps are. This is it. I see that Taino Knight says, but what does it mean to be a Latino? It was a term created by Mike Chevalier to cause confusion in the American hemisphere. To be Hispanics in the Americas is to embrace three races despite popular belief. I'm just telling you, that's not what it was created. We were not known as Hispanic before 1976. The Hispanic name actually comes from Russians. But if you want Russians and white-sided to tell you who you are, who am I to stop you? Latinos are people that their language comes or stems from Latin. That's why Italians are Latino. That's why French are Latino. That's why Haitians are Latino. Brazilians are Latino. By the way, Brazilians were not included and are still not included in PL 94-311 because they're not of Spanish descent. That's literally what's going on. But people don't want to talk about that. And the reason why they don't want to talk about that because they don't read. And history will hide all this stuff from you. American history has hidden all of this stuff from you. And because you don't want to research, you just learn, oh, Hispanic is the name. Okay, fine. That's what it says on the paper when I file for my passport. That's it. But let's continue. There's more studies done on this. I found several, but this is the one that's more thorough. And that's why I said I'm going to take my time on this one. The invention of Hispanics, what it says about the politics of race. And it was written by a Latino called Mike Gonzalez. Mike Gonzalez de Arredondo is a senior fellow at the Heritage Foundation. This guy is participates in what it is preserving the actual and factual history that can be proved of Latinos and our progress here in America. That's where he works at. So he's going to write based on what he can prove. He wrote this, in December 16, 2019. As you can say, this is Mike Gonzalez. And we're going to start talking about this stuff. If you're going to leave here without any doubts. And the key takeaways from his articles are assimilation has been a goal of Mexican Americans for most of their history. Again, when I talk about assimilation, it's not a Denise thing. This is what made our people profit and prosper before we were made to be victims, aka Hispanics. Before America told you were a victim of discrimination, we were very assimilated and we prospered in this country because we assimilated to it. We fought in the wars. We got involved in their politics, in their lifestyle, in their neighborhoods and society. Now, number two, when the 1930 census classified Mexican American as a race, Leaders of the community protested vehemently and had the classification changed back to white. That is 1930s. And all of this you can research in history. You will find the proof. Number 3, Spanish, Hispanic, Latino is now a well-established ethnic category in the U.S. Census. Now, let's start reading about this. And this is also going to talk a lot about when we try to shame other communities for victimhood. When we practice the same thing because we are all under the system that Radical Latino loves to talk about, which is white supremacy. This is white supremacy. But let's talk about it. It says, America's surging politics of victimhood and identitarian division did not emerge organically or inevitably as many believe, nor are these practices the result of irrepressible demands by minorities for recognition. Again, he's basically telling you that Black folks were not just calling for representation or recognition, and that's what created all this division and victimhood and whatever. That's not what that created. They were made into thinking certain things, and you were made to think that you were a victim. That's why you call yourself Hispanic. Now it says, those explanations are myths spread by the activists, intellectuals, and philanthropists who set out deliberately beginning at mid-century to redefine our country. Their goal was mass mobilization for political ends. And one of their earliest targets was the Mexican American community. These activists strive to purposely turn Americans of this community, who mostly resided in the southwestern states, against their countrymen, teaching them first to see themselves as a racial minority and then to think of themselves as the core of a pan-ethnic victim group of, quote unquote, what he says, Hispanics. It's right here. A fabricated term with no basis in ethnicity, like I was telling Taino Knight, culture, or race. So that whole concept about the fucking 3 roots, that's not what Hispanic means. Okay? It's just a preconceived notion by other people that are not even from Latin America. We continue. This transformation took effort because many Mexican Americans had traditionally seen themselves as white. When the 1930 census classified Mexican Americans as a race, leaders of the community protested vehemently and had the classification changed back to white in the very next census. The most prominent Mexican American organization at the time, the Patriotic Pro-Assimilationalist League of United Latin American Citizens, also known as LULAC, complained that the classifying Mexicans as white had been an attempt to discriminate between Mexicans themselves and other members of the white race, when in truth, in fact, we're not only part of a parcel, but as well the sum and substance of the white race. That's what the Mexican resistance said when they were being declassified as Mexican. And now this is a thing that I want to say to the FBA ragers that love to say that we all think the same, we all want to be white, whatever. Let me tell you something. When you say that we all fought to remain white, you're talking about the Mexican population, because there was no significant other population here in the early 1900s. I'm not saying there wasn't Latinos here as a whole. I'm saying there was no significant. So we barely had a voice. That's all I'm saying. And I see that Daniel Valencia says, in New Mexico, they refer to themselves as Hispanos since 1800s, when that territory was annexed by the U.S. They had newspaper called El Diario Hispano, an old Spanish publication in late 1800s. Yes, of course, Daniel Valencia, because that area was controlled by who in the early 1800s and the late 1700s? Who controlled that area? It was not Mexicans. When you can answer that one. Let's stop fighting concepts that are factual and let's start embracing what's true. The Hispanic name is not a badge of honor. If you want to wear it, good for you. Good for you. I see that Royce says, so the Mexicans saw the discrimination about to happen and they protested before things started. Absolutely. Royce also says they want to be white so they will not be mistreated. Absolutely. Can you blame them? No, everybody wants to be white, especially when white is the best group that's treated out here. I can blame people for trying to be white. That's it. They didn't saw themselves as a victim group. That's why they didn't want to be classified as that. They were white people. That's all I'm saying. But let's keep reading. Let's keep reading. It says, tracing their ancestry in part to the Spanish who conquered South and Central America, they regarded themselves as offshoots of white Europeans. So again, once again, is this not the mindset of the slowteps that think that they are European, even though we've seen some of them, and I'm telling you, I think my toenail is more European than them. Some of them look very, very, very non-European. But let's continue. It says, such views may surprise readers today, but this was the way many Mexican Americans saw their race until mid-century. They had the law on their side. A federal district court ruled in Re Ricardo Rodriguez in 1896 that Mexican Americans were to be considered white for the purposes of citizenship concerns, answering to what Daniel Valencia was talking about at late 1800s. And so, as late as 1947, the judge in another federal case, which is Mendez versus Westminster, which is what I've been explaining to people, that was about to reiterate the whiteness of the Latin community. It was never about civil rights movement. We just LARPed that movement and the benefits. Ruled that segregating Mexican American students in remedial schools in Orange County was unconstitutional because it represented social disadvantage, not racial discrimination. Again, it was unconstitutional because it represented social disadvantage, not racial discrimination. So basically, they were saying, you can't treat us like this because we're also white. It doesn't matter that we earn less, we're white people. Social disadvantage, that's it, not racial. At that time, Mexican Americans were as white before the law as they were in their own estimation. Proof of that is Perez versus Sharp of 1947-1948. Andrea Perez was considered a white lady, and Mr. Davis was a black man. They could not marry, which is why they had to go to court. Now, Whiteside will tell you that the first time in history that happened was with Loving versus Virginia. But of course, if you actually read and open a book, you will realize that it was a black man and a Mexican lady that made interracial marriages legal in the U.S. because even Loving versus Virginia used them as precedent. Loving is basically the Mexican community and the Latino community. He's a LARPer. Now let's continue. It says, half a century later, many Mexican Americans have been persuaded of a very different origin story, which is why a lot of you guys are still fighting what I'm telling you. And it's not what I am telling you, it's what historians are telling you. Because you have been conditioned to abandon your actual history and to not read. Among the persuaders, the people that have made you not understand who the hell you are, is Paul Ilvisacker, head of the public affairs at New York's wealthy Ford Foundation during the 1950s and 60s. Though little known today, he wielded great power and influence to advance a particular vision of social justice, inspired partly by socialism and its politics of resentment. So basically, we are pawns, political pawns for people. That's what we hear from a lot of the slow taps, that they hate America, they hate capitalism, they don't like the structures of the Americana, because that's who they are. They do not read. These people are cheap followers, weak-minded, illiterate. Now it continues. Ilvisacker hoped, as he later put it in 1991 essay, the future of Hispanic nonprofits, that Mexican Americans could be organized into a united front. That concept, formulated in 1922 by the Comintern, implied a union of disparate groups on the left into what the Comintern's Fourth War Congress called a common struggle to defend the immediate basic interests of the working class against the bourgeois. So basically, another thing that slow taps do not understand, which is why radical Latino, bro tap, myself, Maceo, many of us out here that are more on the moderate side and love to read, that's where we get frustrated, because these people are basically insulting us when they are the extreme left. They are extremists. They don't belong in the country. Why? Because they're just political pawns. They don't read. They're the weak link of our community. That's who they are. Now let's continue. Ilvisacker, who saw philanthropy as the passing gear of social change, set off to find out if something similar was possible with Mexican Americans. In 1968, he poured 2.2 million in seed funding into the Mexican American Legal Defense and Educational Fund, called MALDEF, a national advocacy conglomerate whose headquarters still buzz with activity in no other than Los Angeles today. He built on foundations laid by the organization guru Saul Alinsky, who had begun the effort to consolidate the Mexican American vote during the Ed Roybal's 1949 LA City Council election. Roybal, an Army veteran and distant descendant of New Mexico Spanish settlers, again answering to what Daniel Valencia was asking about New Mexico and the name Hispanic. Here we go. Was one of many Democrats at the time whose success in local politics owed much to Alinsky's organizing tactics. Alinsky's groups also trained men like Herman Gallegos, Julian Zamora, and Ernesto Galarza, Chicano movement intellectuals who used Ilvisacker's Ford Foundation money. Again, what movement used the Ilvisacker's Ford Foundation money? Again, the Chicano movement. starting with 1-year grant of $630,000 to found the interest group La Raza in 1968. Now, I want you to tell me how many moronic idiots today still use the term La Raza. What raza? When you're a conglomerate of bastards. That's who we are. We are not a race. We're bastards. If we're going to be a race, that's our race. Bastard race. When you go to a dog shelter and you don't see a pure race dog, how much does it cost? Does it cost $7,000? Or we call those satos? What race are those? Nothing. Bastards. That's who we are. Bastards. And we want to continue to keep using these terms and be proud of them as they represent all these beautiful things. No, that's not what they represent. Yeah, hey, Sounddown, what's up? He says, I know back in the day, the Mexicans were tolerated more than blacks. Yeah, absolutely. They were white people. And they should have stayed white. But instead, now we have the Hispanics, and they fight you to remain Hispanics. They fight people. I don't get it. But let's continue. So when people are like, I want to make this clear. When people continue with the whole Chicano thing, I don't want to hear people that use La Raza, Hispanic, Chicano, and all those terms telling black folks that they're victims. You're a fucking victim too. Because that's what's taught in today's society. Yes, they got to you. The system got to you too because you're human. You're not superhuman. Just like African Americans are great, but they're not superhuman. Propaganda gets to them too. Just like it got to the hillbillies. They're poor whites, but propaganda gets to them too. Because that's what the elites do. Create victims and out of people. And that's who we are. Look at how this chat is just fighting to remain a victim. An annex from the community, an annex from the Americana. I've been saying it. Assimilate or go back to your country. I've said it many times. Assimilate or go back. There's no other way. You're here already. Now let's continue. What all these radicals sought and were quite successful in eventually achieving was to analogize the experience of Black Americans, again, LARP, in other words, LARP, the experience of Black Americans to that of Latinos, basically making us into a race group. That's what Hispanics are, a race group that we could use our race, which we do not have because Hispanics are not a race. We're not a race. We are not. It is not. We're not a race. You're not a race. I get it. You might be a little clarito, a little blanquito, a little milky, but that doesn't make you a one race. You're not a race. You're a bastard. That's how it is. So now they're telling you you are a race so that you can LARP and copy paste and say that you also experience the same shit the African Americans experience so you could get the same benefits. And then it was never for our benefit, because if it was to make Latinos rich, by all means, I'm La Raza tomorrow. But it wasn't. It was to make other people rich. And I find it funny that we're still fighting over this concept, but I get it. Because the first time I came across this, I was just as perplexed. So let's continue. And like I said, I hope that this gets the conversation started, because we need to start nailing down the stupidity that has led us this way. We were once a prosperous community that had white privilege. We didn't have no one stopping us from prospering in this country. How the hell did we lose? Because we chose victimhood. And you might get upset, but yes, we did. And we're still doing it today. We're still doing it today. That's just how it is. But let's continue. The term la raza literally the race by itself epitomizes this process of racialization. Ilby was direct on this point. In 1964, he handed UCLA researchers the then goodly sum of $647,999 for a deep survey of Mexican Americans in the Southwest. One of the things he wanted this survey to find out was in what respect the Mexican American experience was comparable to that of Negroes today. He's still trying to find it, because it wasn't. It literally wasn't. We continue. Peter Scarry, a political scientist at Boston College, discussed this movement in 1993 book, Mexican Americans, the Ambivalent Minority. Have you read that book? It's time to open that book. One day we're white, one day we want to be la raza. And he's not talking about no one else. And I'm sorry that I'm calling out my Mexican brethren. I know there's a lot of them that are very awake to reality. But there's a lot of my Mexican brothers and sisters that want to keep being racist, idiots, moronic, illiterate, non-well-read, and full of hatred, easily manipulated. It's time to wake up. Se acabó la fiesta. Se acabó la fiesta. The party is over. It's time to start reading and standing your ground in whatever the heck you want to do. Either you want to be assimilated to this country or you want to go back to Mexico. It doesn't work any other way. And it's time for us to stop this victim mindset, because it's not working. It did not work. A whole generation, the Gen X generation, is one of the most fucked up generations that suffered, make the Mexican community suffer and the Latino community suffer. Why? Because the Mexican community is the largest Latino community. So if they fall, the whole community pays the price. The Gen X generation is one of the most fucked up generations that were fucked up by gang activity, by violence, drugs, incarceration, brutality, because they chose victimhood. So we already can understand it did not work. It doesn't work. It just doesn't. So it's time to stop listening to these moronic people as well. It's time to just let this shit go. Look, here we go. Taino 9. You guys are Anglo educated. Aren't we just saying that you got to start listening and reading into stuff? That's it. That's what I'm saying. Thank you, Roy Shes. When he says, okay, thanks for the response. Why is it that Haitians are black and they are not Hispanics if all three races are embraced? Good question. Because Hispanics has never been about race. The term Hispano, Hispanoamerica, mean the habla hispana, of Spanish speaking. That's what it means. If you don't know this, you need a fucking dictionary and you're a moron. That's what Hispanidad means. Hispanoamerica. That's what it means. So no, it does not come from your race. It means your language, because we're not a race. The same thing with Latino. It's not your race. You're a bastard race. That's our race is bastard. We're not black, we're not white, we're not indigenous, unless you're actually indigenous like Daniel Valencia. You are a bastard. Can we just understand that? Thank you. Now let's continue. Peter Scarry, a political scientist at the Boston College, discussed this movement in 1993 in the book that I mentioned above. The idea Scarry wrote was to convince people that, quote unquote, like blacks, Mexican Americans comprise a racial minority group. This abstraction poses no problems for the ideology-oriented Chicano activists who see the world in such terms. Again, the same black and brown, the same thing, all this stuff that are used today come from this victim mindset that we are a race. We are not a race. We're a unique case, and I get it. We're very unique in the world. Our mix is very unique in the world. No one out here is a large group of bastard people. I understand that. But that's a reality, and we can change it. Now let's continue. The process will only work if Mexican Americans accepted a disadvantaged minority status. Again, let's read this again. The process will only work if Mexican Americans accepted a disadvantaged minority status. Who accepted this victimhood status? It wasn't me. It wasn't me. Who accepted the disadvantaged victim mindset that made us a minority today? Who did that? I want to find those group of people. It says, as a sociologist, G. Christina Moore of U.S. Berkeley put in her study, Making Hispanics in 2014. Have you guys read it? I did. But I can guarantee you someone that did not read it, the slowteps. Let's continue. But Mexican Americans themselves left no doubt that they did not feel like members of a collectively oppressed minority at all. So there was still some resistance of people that had freaking dignity and pride. They knew they were not oppressed. They knew that we didn't experience nothing compared to what African Americans experienced, that was just LARPing. They knew that, but there was a group that wanted to feel sorry for themselves. Now let's continue. As Scarry noted, the race idea is somewhat at odds with the experience of Mexican Americans, over half of whom designate themselves racially as white. Even in the early 1970s, according to Mora, many Mexican American leaders retained the view that persons of Latin American descent were quite diverse and will eventually, what? Assimilate and identify as white. And yet, Spanish, Hispanic, and Latino is now a well-established ethnic category in the US Census, and many who selected have been taught to see themselves as a victimized underclass. How did this happen? Again, how are we? Can somebody tell me, how are we victims? How are we victims? How are we victims of something? I'm going to link this article for people to read so that you guys can start looking for these papers, so that you guys can start looking for these books yourselves. Because I can't, this is a very lengthy article, and I've been here 2 hours already. We're already telling you. I'm already telling you that you are a bastard. You should be proud of that. A lot. It took a lot for your making. And on top of that, you want to see these people out here claiming Hispanidad as if that is something. And you know what I find funny? I don't know if you guys find it funny, but it's the fact that this Hispano taps, slow taps, most of them don't even know Spanish, but they want to be Latino and they want to be Hispanics. When literally the definition of that, not according to the new definitions, the actual definition and the origins of those words were aspects of your dialect. Because there's not a specific color or look for Latinos. Latinos are different in different colors, different shapes, different hair textures, different races, different everything. But people want to continue and victimize themselves. People want to continue this stupidity and not understand that it's time to get your stuff together. Here we go with the Soy Hispano. Again, tú puedes sacar la cabra del monte, pero al monte no se la puedes sacar a la cabra. I don't know what it's going to take. Like I said, I started this channel to actually shed light on that same mindset. And I get it. It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough because Gen X is relatively young still. Some of them raise millennials, and a lot of them raise Gen Z. So it's going to be very tough to tell all these people that what you thought you were, you're not. That your belief system is crooked. And that is moronic what you're doing. So again, for the people that are wearing this as a badge of honor when they should just be ashamed of themselves. I don't know what to tell you. I will never use the term Hispanic, not because I don't speak Spanish. I speak Spanish. It's because the meaning of words have meanings, and the meaning of that word is not what I stand for. That doesn't define me. If you get defined by that, then good by you. If you want to be yell at the word that you're a LARPer, good. Who am I to stop you? Who am I to stop you guys? If you want to continue to be a pawn for political gain for other people. And it's the same thing that's happening now. Now we're not Latinos. Now we're not Hispanic. We're people of color. We're people of color now. God knows what we're going to be tomorrow. Maybe a unicorn of color. I don't know what the heck we're going to be tomorrow. But it's very easy to manipulate Latinos because we really don't understand our identity. And we don't understand our identity because we're just broken bastards. So the root of us understanding and not being manipulating is to accept who we are. You're a bastard. You don't know your origins. Your origins are, you don't know. X, like Malcolm X. Unknown. Therefore, no one can tell you because nobody knows. Nobody knows. But if you want to be, that's another thing. I don't want people to go now at gringos and tell them to not call Spanish because you're basically telling them that calling you by a language and your dialect is good. So yeah, we are Spanish, we are Latino, and we are Hispanic. No, the Hispanic is not a culture or a race. Hispanic is the habla hispana. It's your language. That's literally what it is. Hispanoparlante. That's what it means. Hispanic is not a culture, Taino Knight. Go to Spain and go to la Real Academia Española and ask them what is the term Hispanic, not what Google tells you, what their definition, because that's where the word comes from. What does it mean, the word Hispano? A person that speaks Spanish, if that is all what sums your culture, then good for you. That is the detriment of our collective. Oh, we all speak Spanish. We belong to the same culture. No, we don't. We don't have the same practices. You guys don't know what a Black person is. You guys don't know what a Colombian is, what a Ecuadorian is, what a Cuban really is. You don't know these things. I don't know what a Salvadorian is. I don't know what a Guatemalan is, what a Nicaraguan is. I don't know these things. I'm a Caribbean person. I know more of a Jamaican person by proximity. I know Haitians, Dominicans, Cubans, Trinidad and Tobago people. I don't know the rest of y'all. Latino is the same. It's people of Latin dialect. Look at the name of this channel, Latinsplaining. For people that speak Spanish or that comes from people that speak Spanish in the diaspora. Explaining in Latin. Latinsplaining. That's it. The only reason we say we're Latinos It's because we cannot use Hispanic, because we refuse to be victims and adopt the victimhood. Terms like Hispanic, La Raza, Chicanos, those are victim terms that Sadi told you you are. I see that Risa Realm says calling someone a colored person is an insult, but swapping the words to a person of color makes it okay. Yeah, exactly. Thank you. Thank you. No, Taino Nai, again, he's just trying to tit for tat. You say you're Latinos because of Michael Chevalier. Look it up. No, we say we're Latinos because it comes from the concept of people of that speak, countries that speak or are from Latin descent. Latin descent means that it stems from the word Latin, the tongue Latin. Italians are Latinos, French people are Latino, Spaniards are Latino, we are Latino, Brazilians are Latino, Haitians are Latino. It's not our culture, it's the language it stems from. We're not a language and we're not a color or people of color. That's it. Again, here we go. And Russia says, because there are people who say we know black. That is why you told me black was part of the term Hispanic. Yeah, he has backwards, back and forth. He literally said that Hispanic was not because of Spain, but then he says that it encompasses all the races. But then he says that Haitians are not Hispanic. But then it's such a convoluted thing. It's very simple. Hispano or Latino is a person that speaks Spanish. That's it. That's it. A person that speaks Spanish. That's it. It's very simple. Like Confucius says, life is simple. We insist on making it complicated. But guys, we can sit here all day and talk about this. I'm getting hungry. I gotta get out of here. But again, tomorrow we have a call-in show. We have a call-in show tomorrow. So all your disagreements and your hatred and your pro-Hispano and whatever you want to do, bring it tomorrow. Tomorrow we have a very special show, and it's called Latinos and the Prison of Belief. Tomorrow is going to be a roasting show, more than a factual, because I know I tend to be more on the facts all the time. Tomorrow I'm gonna barbecue. Who wants some barbecue? I see that T says he's having a Koopa. Hey, T, I hope you have enjoyed today's show. I know for a fact you got what I was talking about. I know that for a fact. For the rest of the people that did not got that being Latino or Hispanic is talking about language, that's all I got to say. It's time to use it. It's not complicated, folks. It's very simple. It's a language. Stop trying to make things complicated. But guys, tomorrow, 5 p.m. Pacific time, 8 p.m. Eastern time, 7 p.m. Central. I'm going to be here. We're going to have a very interesting show. Tomorrow is a roasting show. Tomorrow is the end of this season about slowtep psyche, slowtep mindset. Tomorrow is about unlocking ourselves so that we can move forward and prosper as a diaspora. If you have personal feelings and you cannot detach yourself from them, Do not show up at tomorrow's show. I'm begging you. Just don't, because you're going to get offended. So again, tomorrow, if you have any disagreements, if you have any thoughts, if you think that I'm just full of it, if you think that you can prove me wrong with facts, then show up tomorrow. If you just enjoy my show, because I know a lot of people do, come tomorrow. You're going to love it, because we're going to see a lot of this tomorrow. We're going to have a lot of that. Oh my God. We're going to have a lot of that, guys, and a lot of this. So, guys, thank you very much for tuning in. It has been a pleasure. Like I said, it's always nice to be here with you guys. It's always nice to have you guys, listen to my thoughts, to my perspective. And I wanna say, with all the crazy things that are happening, we need spaces like this. We need spaces where we can talk about these topics and not be censored. We do. So, guys, like I said, tomorrow we're gonna have this discussion. Come ready to troll. Come ready with your what am I saying? With your snacks and your drinks. We're gonna have a nice evening. And tomorrow I have a lot of time to do this thing. So trust me, guys, it's gonna be really good. Good night to everyone, guys. Thank you very much for tuning in. It has been a pleasure. To the people that are catching the replay, to the people that are listening to everywhere you hear your podcast, where it's been Apple Podcasts, Spotify. Thank you for the support, guys. It has been a pleasure. And I promise you, the season that I'm prepping, that is coming, it's going to be really good. We're going to talk about the structures of America. So there's a better understanding of the Americana, so we can start integrating into society as we should have, as the country should have taught us. So stay tuned. Great things are coming. Like I said, it's going to be really nice. This Wednesday also, we're going to have another episode of Latin Explaining in Espanol. So make sure you tune in for that. Thank you, guys. It has been a pleasure. One hug to everybody. See you tomorrow. Peace.